So I'm having a chat with Robert Finley. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. How about yourself?
Good. Yeah, not bad. Thanks so much. So we've been playing a single of yours called Holy Ghost Party. Tell us a bit about the single, first of all.
Well, it's something I always wanted to do, and as a matter of fact, I still play. Been playing for the same church for over 23 years, and then grew up in church, and I just felt like uh, church was getting boring to a lot of people. A lot of kids don't like to go, so I said, well, I need to do something to uplift it to make it a fun place more than something they're being punished to go sit in. Because, with me, when I was a kid, I had to go whether I wanted to or not. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think we need to make it to where the kids will want to go and get that in their life early. And that'd be something they can always reach back to.
Mm. Yeah, I fully agree with that. And that's coming off your new record, which is out next week. Hallelujah, don't let the devil fool you. What can we expect to hear on the record?
Oh, well, it's a lot of all of it is the whole album is it's aimed to the gospel. Um, like I say, I do the blues, but the blues is to me is not don't have to be a sad thing. It doesn't matter if you label it as gospel or blues, as long as you're telling the truth. As long as it's about real life and reality of it. Sometimes when people say blues, they look for a sad thing or a depression thing. But the blues can be uplifting too.
Mm. Yeah, I fully agree. And the sound that you've made with this record, is it the sound you wanted, or is it kind of just how it turned out while you were recording it and writing it?
It's something I went in studio with on my mind. I had did 3 albums with Easy Eye Sound, and so the fourth album we didn't have a plan. It was just what I wanted to do. Dan said, "Let's make another album. You ready to make another album?" And we went in with the idea of making an album. And I told him, I said, Dan, I said, I think I need to do a gospel album. I said, because so many people from the churches asking me when I'm going to do a gospel album. And his response was, I don't care what you sing, man, just sing. So we they would arrange the music. And that's the one thing about it. You don't need a pencil and paper to tell what you already know about life. Uh, if if it's real and it happened or it's happening, then you don't have to write it all down and spend lots of time writing the song. Just sing about what you already know about life itself. And the Holy Ghost Party, I don't know if you've seen the video or not, but it's all mostly the video is covered with senior citizens, but everybody in there is well of age and experienced life enough to know. Um, but most of them are seniors, citizens that are retired, and I thought it'd be great to give them something to look forward to. And then when the kids see grandma and grandpa, uh, you know, dancing in the spirit, then they'll want to. It looks like fun rather than hey, get ready, let's go to church. It need to be something to where the kids would say, "Come on, Granny, let's go." So yeah, that's my way of looking at it. And then the truth of the matter is, the I have been in those kind of parties, in revivals and by me playing for the churches and stuff, and I know that once people are having a good time, they don't really be in a hurry to go.
Mm.
And so I'm like, well, instead of singing something boring, and don't get me wrong, slow songs have have their meaning and they have their place. But I just thought it'd be good to have an uplifting song to make everybody want to get involved.
Yeah, no, yeah, for sure. And I'd like to talk about the writing side of things as well. So for you, how do tracks normally start off?
No, we didn't do any writing. We just the band just organized their music, and I was, and I've always I've always liked the freestyle and as they call it, and and be a poet as it goes, and they call it rapping or whatever these days, but we was back then it was just if you could make things rhyme and then make sense with it. And that was my whole thing. I didn't get to go to school that much, but when I did go, I was more or less the class clown than anything, because um, during the school season was most of the time we was harvesting our crops. And growing up on a farm, it was more important to get the crop in, than worry about going to school.
Mm,
Uh, but now I don't feel bad about it because if you if you if you got mother wit and common sense and mother wit, then that's better than an education because you got the experience. Um, you can be having all the education in the world and then don't have common sense. Then some kid come off the street and trick you out of everything you done got hold to. So it's more important. I mean, don't get me wrong, education is important, but experience is more
mm,
valuable than just than an education. Because my dad would say, you could be an educated fool, and then you still don't, fast as you get hold to something, someone that if you've only been in the classroom and someone grew up in the streets, um, if you're not hip to the street life, they're gonna trick you out of everything you got anyway.
mm. Yeah, no, that makes full sense. And I believe you only started kind of releasing music properly with your first album about 9 years ago. And you won't mind me saying you're a little bit older in age, but what took you so long to kind of get to the stage where you wanted to release your own music? Because you've been playing music for a very long time.
Yeah, I've been playing since I was 10 years old, and it's something I always wanted to do, but it's always about being in the right place at the right time. So many people are talented and got all types of skills, but if you're just singing in the shower, no one hears you but you.
Mm,
Uh, you got to put it out there to be seen and heard by, and then some. In my case, I was just busting. I've been a carpenter all my life. Carpenter, I did carpenter, plumbing, electrician, anything dealing with a home, because I knew that was a promising future because everybody gonna need a roof over their head at some time or another. So that was a business that you couldn't go wrong being in home building or remodeling. So, but then I started to lose my sight, and I got where I couldn't read the tape measure properly, and I couldn't make the proper cuts and stuff that I would think that a professional carpenter would do, and I didn't want to butcher up and leave a reputation of being a bad carpenter because all of my work came from word of mouth. I didn't do commercials or anything. Just fix this person's stuff right, and somebody walk in and ask who did it, and then they were like, "I want his number. I want to meet him." So that's what I operated on. So that meant so much to me till I didn't want to go down, as a bad carpenter after all those years. So I was forced into retirement, and I was started to play more uh, I started playing local TV. Um, it was a show called the Ernie Miles Show, and it was a gospel show that was on TV, and I did it, and I got where I was pretty much a regular on it, and it came on every Sunday morning. I was there, I was pretty much everybody was expecting to see something that was taped, but we would just tape for the whole month. Yeah, at the first week of the month, all I had to do was 4 songs, and I would they'd play one each Sunday. So I started to play for commercials for KNOE and the local TV station, and I met a guy down there that was doing uh, a commercial for one of his businesses, and I just made the suggestion uh, that all he needed, he was advertising his cafe, and I said, all you need is some blues, and I said it out of a joke, and he said, yeah, well, I think I like that. Come on down. And he told me to come on a Tuesday night. Said that was the only night that they didn't have, nothing going on. And I went that Tuesday, um, and I played. He wasn't there, so his daughter and them said, "We don't have music on Tuesday." And I said, "Well, I know." I said, "That's why I'm here." And so she called her dad, and he said, "Oh, I forgot to tell y'all he was coming." And so he said, "Well, go ahead and hook up, see what we're gonna do." And I played that Tuesday, and everybody seemed to like it, and the owners, and they called Dad, and he said, "How did it go?" He said, "Well, tell him to come back next Tuesday, because I want to be there to see it myself." So when I came back the next Tuesday, uh, the word got around. It was all over social media, and so I got to wind up being a regular every Tuesday night. And it's a seafood restaurant, and they mostly sold crawfish. That's they specialize in. Uh, it's called Riverside on the island. But anyway, Tom Hardy had made me a regular there, and we had become friends too. So because I really made Tuesday night one of his biggest nights, and because people was coming that hadn't been coming and sitting out, and he said, "Man, you done turned Tuesday night into the biggest nights. That I'm gonna move you up to Friday and Saturday." And then that worked great. And then when crawfish season was over, I didn't have nothing to do. So he was going to a festival, and he asked me, did I want to tag along? And I was like, yeah, I ain't got nothing else to do. And so I guess he wasn't expecting me to be there, but he said, if you want to go, you'll be there. In the morning, we're leaving out about 4 o'clock. And he said, it ain't gonna cost you nothing, just go with me. And I was up. Matter of fact, I drove my van down there, and I parked so that I wouldn't oversleep. I made sure I would be there. I was probably there when they got there. And we went to the King Biscuit Festival in Helena, Arkansas. And I just took the guitar just for personal use. But I heard about a jam session that they was having on the big stage. And when they did sound check, I asked about the jam session, and they asked me, who you got to play with you? I said, I'm by myself. I said, 'cause, I don't know nobody. They don't know my music. I don't know what they're doing. I said, I'd rather play by myself. That way, if it wouldn't be nobody's fault but mine if it don't pass over. So the guy says, nobody's never did this before. He said, either you're gonna, he said, but since you got that much confidence, say, when you hear the music stop, say, come to the stage, and I'm going to give you the stage. So when they finished the sound checks and stuff, I walked up on the stage, and I told him who I was and stuff. And he says, he didn't know anything about me. So he said, now this is the truth. He said, this is a rough audience here. Say, either you going to to be successful, or you're gonna be the laughing stock of the festival. And I was like, well, I'll just take my chances. And so I did one of the songs I had written from an album that I did long ago. I did an album in 99, in 1999, but it never was promoted. It was just for personal use. I just did a CD for my friends. I could pass around with my friends. I sold them out the trunk of my car and stuff like that. But there was a guy came up from the Music Maker Foundation, saw me on the streets, and he asked me, did I mind if he take a picture? And I said, no, everybody pretty much doing what they want to do anyway. And so we took the photo, and when I took a break, that's when he told me that he was with the Music Maker Relief Foundation. And he said, what they did, they was was helping struggling musicians after the Hurricane Katrina. We had the big flood in New Orleans, and so musicians had to leave from, and go back to wherever they had come from. And so I took a chance on going to play for them, and then I did that one little album. Um, but I had gave them the record that I did in '99, and they liked it. And so I was singing the song. I said, "Hey, I'm gonna buy me a bulldog, watch my house when I'm not at home. I ain't seen nothing with my own eyes, but I know something funny going on." And so it was written to be a comedy, and so it would work both ways. If they didn't like the singing, they might like the joke. So I was that was basically what I was pinning on. But they liked it in both ways. So when I got a chance to do the recording with the Music Maker Foundation, they just recorded me and they sent it to Memphis to Big Legal Mess, which um, their Fat Possum Records is what they got, but they changed the name to Big Legal Mess. And I went uh, when I got out of blind school, I went straight there and we recorded an album there, and it took us like 2 days to do it because I didn't know any of the musicians and none of them knew me, and so we kind of like took our time, and we got it done, and all the guys said, "Man, you got a hit," and the guys, everybody in the band, that's one thing about it. They had great musicians. Everybody were already well known. I was the only, and I was, and at the age of 63, I was the youngest one in the band. And so all these guys that played for James Brown, Ray Charles, and Elvis Presley, they all had, you know, and and I didn't really believe it. So the next day they brought the proof, where they was hanging out with Elvis, and they said they was still in school when Elvis was when they was playing for Elvis at the juke joint. So I said, well, I'm with the professional musicians. And when you're in the room with the best, it kind of brings out the best in you. And I'd say it's a now or never situation. But the record turned out great. And then we was actually on tour. I was on tour with the Music Foundation when I got a phone call. The road manager says, hey, man, it's a guy, Dan Albach, want to meet you when you get back to the States. And he said, I said, Dan Albach. He said, yeah, the guy from the Black Keys. Well, I had never heard of the Black Keys. And so, but one of the drummer from the thing said, man, you finna be a rock star. If you go on to the Dan Albach, say, you finna be a rock star. And I was like, I didn't really lock in on what he was saying. But when we got back, I got to meet Dan, and I found out I was over 30 years older than him. But we clicked, and after a short conversation, we went in and start recording. And my style of playing, and there's, which I could pretty much play anything I wanted to play on the guitar. But I told them, why don't you play the music and let me focus on the singing, and to make sure the record can. And we agreed to that. And so when they would say what they wanted to say, well, it's supposed to have been 4 records, 4 songs on the Murder Banner. It was a cartoon. I don't know if you heard of Murder Banner, but it's a cartoon novel. And I was singing what they wanted me to sing for the cartoon. And we had 4 days to do it. And we did it in less than a day. So now we got 3 days of studio time with nothing to do. So then Dan says, "You want to make an album?" I'm like, "Man, that's like my childhood dream." And he said, "Well, we finna make an album then." And so he went to pulling down songs that they had written. And with me being legally blind, I couldn't read it. So all I could do was listen to the music, and then he would tell me the words in my ear and put a bug in my ear, and he'd tell me the words. And when he tell me the words, he says, "Don't try to sound like me. I want you to be yourself." And that's the best thing that could happen to a person, is to be themselves. Because I've always been able to imitate, James Brown, Ray Charles. I can imitate it, pretty much sound like anybody I wanted to. But then I found out that no matter how good an imitator you are, uh, all you're going to do is make that person you're imitating more famous. So you got to step out of the box and do your own thing. And that's what makes you remembered, is by you being different. I didn't want to be like nobody. I wanted to be different from everybody, because that's what people remember, something different.
Mm. Yeah, no, yeah, they absolutely do. And with a busy life having gone on in the past, you've still got a busy time ahead. This month, you're touring across the UK and Europe. I bet you can't wait to be doing some more shows.
Yeah, we got, we did the BBC television viewing yesterday, and we start with the interviews and stuff. That we're on a 30-day tour. So with 30 days, we're doing like 16 shows, and I don't know how many videos and Zooms we're doing, because it's every town I go to, there's another photographer or another somebody, just waiting to tell the story. And I never pass up an opportunity to tell the story. And it never changes. If it ever changed, then that would be a problem. Um, the truth doesn't change, and so in my future can change, but my past would never change. So sing about my past, and then my hope for the future. So that gives me and the young people, to them, his history. And then to the elderly people, it's a trip down memory lane. But if you can get the kids and the grandkids and the grandparents all to dance to the same music, then you have filled the generation gap.
Mm.
And most time, the older people don't want to hear the young folks' music. Young people don't want to hear what the old folks are sitting around and looking to. But we was able to make a gumbo, as I call it, to where we have a little something for everybody. That it doesn't take but one song on the album to make someone go out and buy the album. Because if they love that one song, they want to know what else is you got to offer. So I always try to put a little bit of everything on each album. Now, all the other albums, they would have at least one gospel song on it. But this song here is catered. This new album, Hallelujah, Don't Let the Devil Fool You. It's all catered to the believers and trying to make believers out of non-believers.
Mm.
So a lot of times people don't. They've never really sit down and listen to the gospel. Or you can you can get people to dance to it when they want. Just come into church and sit down and listen to it. So you got to. It's a kind of a two-way street. You get the world's attention, then you tell them positive things to give everybody hope for tomorrow. Because with my childhood upbringing and the struggles that I had, like I said, we we were poor, but we didn't know it. 'Cause, we had more food than we could eat because we raised all of the food. Uh, we raised our own chickens. We had our own cows and goats. And we had everything that we needed to eat. And then my dad loved to hunt, so we always, had fresh meat, wildlife, and fat. So it was never a hunger, but it was just a hard working life.
Mm.
I tell anybody that the sharecroppers never really get their share.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
get your share of the work, but you don't get your share of nothing else.
Yeah. Very true. Robert, it's been a pleasure having a chat with you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure having you, man, and I appreciate you. Looking forward to coming that way and they say show up and show out.